हेलो एंड वेलकम बैक टू क्रिकेट फेबल्स। आपका स्वागत है। आज सिर्फ मैं हूं, नेहा नहीं है। She had some important work to step out, but I'm very glad to be talking to Manoj Tiwary, a man who needs no introduction to anyone who's followed cricket. Manoj, how are you?
I'm very good, Jamie. Thank you for having me in your show. It's always nice to see you speaking Hindi. Most importantly, I just love it, man. I just love it. Nice to have me in your show, brother. Thanks.
Thank you. So let's get right into it. We're in the middle, literally in the middle of this fantastic series between India and England, जो कि 1-1 पे lock है. Probably not many people would have seen it locked at this time. Going into the third test. Your thoughts
Right.
overall on the series?
Well, I predicted before the start of the first test match that if we recollect the Chennai pitch, obviously we have seen the pitch turns from the very first day itself. But we didn't see that happening in the first test match. Maybe India took it a little more confidently or take it a little easier. They thought that after Australia series win, they can obviously win on such tracks because they were so confident. But the way England played in the very first test, toss has been a advantage part in the first test because you saw first 2 days nothing happened in the pitch. The ball was coming nicely onto the bat, and the way Joe Root and others batted, especially Joe Root, he was coming from a very good innings and series in Sri Lanka. So he prepared himself to play sweep shots, keeping in mind that he's going to play in Asia. And I was very impressed to see his sweep shots, variety of sweep shots, reverse sweep as well. So bowler had no clue what to do. The moment the ball started turning in the second innings, you see the wicket started falling in a very quick succession. So I predicted that it will be a 2-0 in Chennai, keeping in mind that I always seen and watched and played in Chennai pitches where the ball turns from the very start. So India made a very good comeback, which was needed, and eventually they had to fall back on that strategy itself about the condition where the ball started spinning from the very first session of the first day. And I always believe that that's the strength. If you see last 5 to 4 years, India have played on a spinning friendly wickets in India against the touring sides, and they all have been India result oriented. So I would love to see India again playing on a slower track and a little spinning track in Motera in the pink ball test, which we have not seen in world cricket, because
Exactly.
whatever match we have seen in pink ball cricket, we have seen in a sporting wicket where the ball carries and goes through. But if we play on a sporting wicket, then obviously I would say both the teams have equal opportunity to win the test. I've always said that because you got to make a pitch according to your advantage so that the result fall in your side rather than it falls on other side, because at the end of the day it's a game of results, and obviously if you keep winning, nobody will raise questions about your performances, and that will take you to the, obviously we are very close to the test championship final as well. But that defeat obviously hurted a lot of audience and myself as well, because it was not on the cards. If
Yeah.
we would have planned better as far as conditions are concerned, then it would have been 2-2-0 and would have obviously a little relaxed position. But going to the pink ball test, like I said, it all again depends on the pitch condition, how they're going to provide, and what sort of a pitch we are going to see.
Speaking of things not being on the cards, let's rewind a little bit because you brought it up at the right time. Let's go back to Australia. The team knew that after the first test, Virat wapas jayenge. That was planned. But then you lose Mohammad Shami in the same match in which you're bowled out for 36. Everyone is saying 4-0, ye team gaya. But that was a once in a lifetime occurrence. It hadn't happened for some 60 years, so it's not going to happen again. Then they go to Melbourne, are ye team to gaya. Ajinkya scores 100. They win in Melbourne. Then arguably even better than Melbourne win was the Sydney draw, because
Yeah.
between every match, India lost key players. During every match, India lost key players. But then you go to Brisbane, where you've been to Australia, you played there. You get to Brisbane, jahan pe 33 years se Australia nahi haari hai. You're playing probably a B team because of all the injuries. You're giving out debuts to whoever's there. You create history there. What To your mind, Manoj, as someone who's part of the system, who's played for India, who's seen youngsters come through, you're a senior player for younger players. What does it say about the system, which includes the A's and the NCAs and Rahul Dravid and IPL
Yeah,
khas karke, and
yeah.
about just the confidence of these boys?
Absolutely. See, it's the fearlessness of the youngsters coming through the ranks. They don't fear much, and it has to do a lot with the IPL performances over a period of time. Because uh, before IPL period, if you see all the youngsters who used to come up to the international level, but they did not carry that experience of being in the same dressing room and facing the quality test bowlers or a one-day quality bowlers in the in the nets, and then make it to the international level. But now what has happened because of the IPL, you see they share the dressing room with them. They get to know a lot of things. They get into confidence, and obviously they play quality bowlers in their nets and in opposition as well. So if you perform over there, then there is a confidence to be taken at the international level. So that period where the player will get the transition into first class into international cricket is now cut off completely because of IPL happening. And also you rightly mentioned of A teams traveling a lot these days as well, because there has been a system where now obviously under 19s and India A is being taken by Rahul Dravid itself, and who can be better at that position because he understands and he has played himself at a highest level as well, and his performance speaks for himself. So he's one of the individual who has been put in the right place by BCCI to look after all the youngsters. Because uh, uh, at the age of 19, when a player is making into the international level where he's into the reckoning, that is a very important phase of any cricketer coming through that period, like 2 3 years from 19 years of age. Because because a lot of players gets distracted because so much of money, endorsement and other things happening, they divert a lot of time to other things rather than focusing on cricket. And he is someone, I always believe that he will make sure he will have an interactive session with the players who are coming up the ranks, and make sure and tell him what it is to play for India and what are the things you need to do to go ahead and make sure that you represent your country and make our country proud. So the system has been good. The IPL has been a plus point for Indian upcoming players, and also the seniors as well, because it's a
Mm.
competition where performance obviously is being monitored constantly. And like a lot of people are saying that we had an India B team, but I want to differ that in a way that I always believe that in India we have so much of talent, Jamie.
Mhm.
They can equally be number one player in the first team side, given a number of matches to them. But unfortunately, the circumstances is such that we have to call them a second team or a B team. But if you see all the players, apart from those players, also you see so many great players who have performed so well over a period of time now, last 3 4 years. Like Surya could not make it to Australia with his outstanding domestic cricket in IPL, and Ishan Kishan couldn't make it. If you see, apart from all the players who we call as a number India B players, if you add all these players and give them a good bowling attack like which we have now, they will equally be good as number one team which we have. So that's the beauty of our country. We have so much of talent in our country where you can cover your base in spinning department or a fast bowling department or in batting. So that's why it's a special moment for any individual to play for your country in such population, come out and represent your country. So yeah, these are all the factors which are
Mm.
making our team very stronger day by day. And also not to forget Ajinkya's leadership as well in the last three tests when Virat was not there, and Virat's influence as far as his fitness culture is concerned, because he understood when he came into the team over a period of time, he saw what is needed to be done when he gets the responsibility of captaining. He immediately identified that fitness is something which is in the control of individual. It's our responsibility to become much fitter, and you see. In the outfields, and we have now made a benchmark to make sure that if you don't pass the fitness test, you will not be selected. I think it's a very good thing to have, because earlier we used to see not many players were fit enough.
Yeah,
We have seen in the boundaries, yeah, a couple of boundaries, they will just leave it because of the fitness, which is that was a different phase. Now this is a different
absolutely.
phase of Indian cricket team, which is very good for us.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You raised some very good points, all valid points. In fact, just after we won at Brisbane, I was talking to Bharat Sundaresan, who Crick Buzz, and he's the only Indian based in Australia. So he said, yeah, I was getting asked all these questions. Yeah, what's happened to India? Because the Australian media and the expert, they were shocked. Your second string players are so bloody good. They've beaten us, and we as Australia are looking in the mirror and saying, where is our next person coming from? And he's like, actually, and he felt proud because he could say, yes, exactly what you're saying, Manoj. That the bench strength, let's not call it A or B, let's call it bench strength. They
Yeah,
can walk in a Washington who for almost
yeah,
4 years doesn't
yeah,
play first class cricket. He walks in and bats like he's been playing for 10 years at test level. So exactly all the factors you talked about. I'm also glad that you mentioned the names of Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan. More so Surya because he's been doing it now for
yeah,
several years. Just yesterday, they were named in the T20 squad, as
yeah,
long as
yeah,
someone like Rahul Tewatia, who's also a very fascinating story in itself.
yeah.
Are you happy to see such names finally getting the chance?
Absolutely happy for Surya and all the other players who deserve a place in the Indian cricket team in the T20 format. Yeah, because they have performed, and when you perform, then obviously that's the time you want to give them opportunity to excel and make a name for himself and establish his place into the Indian team. And more importantly, he can contribute to the India's success. If you see, if somebody is playing well, and if you don't make him play or don't get him selected at that particular period, then obviously that flow, the bad flow, the form obviously dips down, and a lot of doubts keeps coming into the mind as well. So you don't want to miss out on that particular thing, because at the end of the day, we all have to understand it's about India winning the tournaments. It's about India winning the matches. It's not about being unfair or fair to anyone. But if you have a slot available, and you see someone like Surya Kumar Yadav's performance last year, it's not just the amount of runs he has scored,
Hmm.
it's also about the quality of the shots he has played. It's something which should catch the eye of the selectors. I'm sure now it has been obviously spotted by the selectors, but last year when he missed a, like few months back when he missed a flight to Australia, I felt a little disappointed, because I know for myself as well, because if you don't give them the opportunity, right platform at the right time, then the player misses out, and most importantly, India misses out on the form of certain individual. Pretty
Yeah.
happy to see IPL performances also given some rewards as well. In the case
Yeah.
of Rahul Tiwatia as well, he has
Yeah.
been outstanding last year in the Indian Premier League, and we all know Indian Premier League is one of the most challenging tournaments in the world.
I know we've spoken about this in the past, but I want to ask you again. How did you rise above the difficulties? How did you move beyond setbacks? Because you had some very big ones in your India aspirations.
Yeah, see, I had no other option, to be honest, Jamie, because if I would have not gone ahead with a positive frame of mind coming back from the setbacks of injuries, it would have been difficult for me if I would have not thought positive enough. And my support system has been very good. My wife has been very supportive of me, because she's someone who is always with me. And if you don't have someone who supports and talks positive about you at that particular time, then that is a phase where obviously the negative thoughts creeps in, and then you are left with two options: either to just hang back and think about negative stuff and blame God, then why you put me in such a situation where everything was going well for me and suddenly I got injured, or the other way, just move forward, thinking of a lot of positives from other experiences. Well, I've always said that whenever I see, especially child um, in front of my eyes, when I see one individual or one kid does not have one arm or one leg, then I relate my difficulties with their difficulties in day to day life, and that's how I get motivated, and that's how I get positive thought process, that we are fortunate enough to wake up every morning and breathe, and you see so many special abled people out there, and you, if you can relate, then obviously the answer is with you only. But most importantly, your thought process and also the support system, because when you get injured, you normally you see nobody is close enough to help you. There are only few individual, and most importantly, if your family members are not there, then it's a long road for your recovery. But yeah, I've always been a very positive person. No matter what, I know injury has been difficult for me in my playing career, at the right juncture of my career. But yeah, this is how I came back, watching a lot of motivational videos from different sports as well. I remember Redmond, 1992 Olympic. He was favorite to win the Olympic relay race in the last 100 meter. Obviously, in last 100 meter or the last lap, he got his hamstring tear and he sat down in the racetrack. And then suddenly he started crying, and suddenly one person comes out from the crowd. Then the security runs up to him and says that, "So you cannot come in." Then he says, "I'm his father. I'm father of Redmond." So that security guy just left him with his son, and his dad said that, "Son, you don't have to do this. You got injured, your hamstring is gone, you don't have to do this." But Redmond said, "No, Dad, I have to finish this." So so he carried in his shoulder, his dad carried him in his shoulder till the last 5 to 10 meters, and after that he just left Redmond to complete the race. So those sort of motivational videos keeps me going whenever I fall back into such situation as far as injuries are concerned. So there are other instances as well in YouTube's you see, and compared to all those, mine is very very small.
Very, very well said. And very, very interesting that you have these examples to give. Just last couple of questions.
Yep.
How important is it for the selectors to have a dialogue with someone who's not getting picked? Because I know I've heard from many, many players that we don't know where we stand. And I think very, very few will approach and will take the call. I know you're one of them who's done this before. How important is that, especially now? I mean, you can say, yes, 20 years back, things were different, when you began different, and to what's happening now. Do you think it's changed, or is there still room for improvement in this one aspect?
No, I think there is room for improvement, obviously, and you'll be surprised to know that the culture of communicating with the players who are in the reckoning who does not get picked. This point I raised with now India batting coach, assistant coach, or head coach of batting department, Vikram Rathore. He was the chief, he was one of the selectors, or maybe he was the chief of the selectors when I was playing India A, and I was not getting picked after a good performances as well. So one day in a Irani Trophy game, you normally see Irani Trophy games happening. You see the selectors are made to coach one of the teams of late. So I had an interaction with him. He asked me a couple of questions. What needs to be done? Then I only suggested him that one thing you can do, sir, which is communicating with the players who are not getting picked, who are just left behind with no answers, because players at the end of the day want to know what areas they need to work on and perform better so that they get selected. If that clarification is there or the communication is there, then players will don't mind getting dropped, because he will know that I'm not getting picked because of my disability, or I need to improve on certain skill set. And then obviously he will go back in domestic cricket and again work on that particular skill set and come back, so that it has some sort of a scope of player to improve and come back again. So that's how it all started. Then from there onwards, I used to read a lot of interviews on in newspaper that they have started communicating with the players. But off late, when last selection panel, if you say, I did not see much of that communication happening, because a lot of current players, Indian players at that particular phase, came out when they were dropped, and they all gave interview mentioning this particular point, that they were not told, like in case of Karun Nair, in case of Murli Vijay, and
Absolutely.
there are other couple of players whom I'm missing right now. But I have strongly felt that this needs to be done, because it's about players career. It's about you got to give that opportunity to player to improve his skill set and come back, rather than not communicate him and start blaming that the other selector who represents your zone does not speak for you. I personally experience that a lot with selectors, that whenever I go and ask, I used to ask selector, he always had the same particular answer, that no, the other selector did not back you. And the other selector, when I go and meet him, or whenever we come across, I ask the question, what happened, that he says the completely opposite thing, that he did not raise your name into the selection. But my point is, whoever is a performer, whoever has performed in that particular domestic format, you got to give them opportunity, provided if the others are not performing equally to the players who are performing well, because otherwise the relevance of domestic cricket will slowly go away.
Hmm.
So it's very important to have that communication with the players.
In these times when I understand why people would not want to speak up because of certain factors, you're someone who just tweets their mind, speaks their mind. Is that the way you've always been, like, I can say, fearless to an extent?
Yes, I've always felt that whatever my heart says, you just go for it, because because I want to I want to know the purpose of us being into this world. I just don't want to be a person who wants to leave this planet Earth not doing enough, knowing that I could have done something for certain particular areas, like you mentioned, that speaking my mind openly, being fearless. See, I don't fear anyone, to be honest, because if I'm honest enough, if my thoughts are clear enough, then I don't have to fear anyone. Because for me, obviously, cricket has given me a lot of things in my life. Uh, 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 I'm settled now, well settled as far as finance is concerned, from the place where I have come from. A lot of people have helped me over a period of time to make me reach a certain position. But uh, apart from this, after this, what's next for me? You can relate, you can understand why I've not been a little vocal during my playing career, because we
Absolutely.
grown up in an environment where you fear a lot. If you say something, or even if you go and ask any question to your seniors, or to a person who is a little powerful, what if he gets offended? Then obviously he will use his power to make sure that you are totally cut off, things like that. And I want to be the voice of the people who cannot raise their voice. And that's why I keep tweeting the stuff which I feel can make a little bit of difference. But at the same times, I know the consequences will be there for me, which I'm ready to take. That's part and parcel of life. That's the way I want to lead my life, and the rest, I'll just leave it to God. Whatever will happen. But
Hmm.
yeah, if a lot of people listens to me, then obviously they want to see me as honest as I can, in social media platform, or like in person as well. So the people who know me closely, they know who I am. So that's the reason, because I see a lot of other things happening,
Yeah.
where people are being controlled, there are not enough questions raised, where people can make a difference. Because for example, you see the hike in petrol and diesel, for example, I'm saying, it's something which bothers me, because a
Yeah.
poor people, a people, common people who rides a bike, whose daily transport is a bike or a four-wheeler. Just imagine if
Absolutely. It's
it,
100 is insane.
it's insane. So uh, my point is, why, when you have so much of resources, and when you are running a country or administration, make sure the common people or the poor people does not suffer. You have a plan for them. How can we just sit back at home and just watch so many poor people committing suicide, farmers committing suicide, for example, and whatever we have seen in a lockdown period? We could have saved so many lives. So the value of human life, somehow has become minimal,
Sure.
yeah. So which is very disappointing. I feel very bad, and I'm helpless right now, not to do enough for poor people. But in my capacity, whatever I can do, I've been doing over a period of time. But yeah, if God's give me an opportunity to serve people in a bigger way, where poor people does not have to commit suicide or die because of poverty, that will be something which will make my life worth it.
Thank you so much for taking our time to speak to us here
Thank
on Cricket Fables. We wish you all the best in the career, and I know you've also been doing some commentary stuff and other things. So, as always, love you to talk to you, and thank you for taking our time.
Thank you, Jamie. It's always nice to talk to you. We had this conversation in English, but next time we'll have it in Hindi completely.
बिल्कुल करेंगे, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल मनोज. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
Take care, brother.
Thank you, thank you.